And this is John.
And this afternoon we were thinking about talking about character concepts and how the character building and character history can lead to a fuller understanding of your D&D character or any other game really, and how that can influence the way you play and the way you interact with the world, as it were.
Yeah, also one of the parts I wanted to focus on in that is the idea of whether or not, upon creating a character, that people fall into pretty much two camps. One is, I know what I want to play. How do I build the stats to make that a thing? Otherwise, let me focus on my stats to build a particular type of interactable character, or building a character and then figuring out what stats apply to that character, like building the actual role-playing elements of the character and then determining what stats would be most applicable for that character creation process. So, for instance, in D&D,
Yep.
let's say I want to make a character.
Yep.
Now, I can say, I want to make a guy who's had this life, and it's led him to all of this, and because of that, he is a this thing. Or I can say, well, I want to play an assassin, so my character's an assassin.
Well, see,
now how do I make an assassin
I
applicable?
think, really, before you say that your character's an assassin, you have to decide what level the game is starting at. Because a first-level character isn't an assassin.
Again, a first-level character can perfectly well be an assassin. They just won't be an assassin class.
Okay, no.
So,
that's
I
fair.
want
No,
to
that's
be
fair.
a spec ops sniper. Okay, you might not have the stats for it, but that's what you're going for. You're going for this mentality.
That is the
this type of
mentality
thing.
you're going for. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
But it all really depends to me on the party and the players that are playing, because in my personal opinion, I like to build a real three-dimensional character and then figure out how we can slot stats in to make that three-dimensional character work. It's a bit harder in D&D. You're a bit more role-filled in D&D, so it's kind of like... I mean, 5th Ed helped with that, but the mentality of D&D always seems to be a bit more, what stats did I get? How can I make that applicable to some class?
Yeah, I mean, that is... although we're talking about a role-playing game and creating a character, at its core, because D&D is still also a game, there is going to be that element. It's not easy to move away. It's possible, but not easy.
Well, some people don't move away from it at all.
Some people
they
won't move
sit
it,
and go, what are you? I am a barbarian, a second-level barbarian, and I'm going to become a blank spec barbarian. And that's the way they think about their character.
Yeah, a lot of people think of it more almost in the terms like you would with a video game.
Yeah, like mechanics. What are the mechanics of my character? Not, well, my character has this psychological profile, and, this is what his early life was like, and this is what his aspirations are.
See, I kind of fall in both parts. For me, when I create a character, I fall in both camps. Because I'll go into it, depending on how we're doing stats. Are we doing point by? Then if it's point by, I'm very mechanical, because I kind of have to build something that will work for a character.
Well, anything will work for a character, though. I mean, if you can roll with an 8 in your stat,
you can make that argument, and that is a fair...
Oh, at least with 5th. 5th makes it a lot easier.
Like I said, that is a valid argument, but for me, if I'm doing point by specifically, one of the first things I like to approach it as is I try not to have anything under a 10.
Yeah, that's the first thing I'll do in that kind of system. I'll average everything off at a 10 first.
Yeah. And if
I move something down later, it's usually to min-max something else up.
Very possibly. I usually won't. I won't stray away. I don't want that negative roll, which it's super mechanical.
I'll just play a rogue, and put it in strength.
Sure. I mean, it's possible. Like I said, it's a mechanical way of thinking about it. It's mechanics.
Well, if you really think about D&D, just take a look at the book, right? Okay, so we take a look at the D&D book. They will give you recommendations on the personalities of your character, and like really like a whole lists and charts that you could random roll to make a personality that you could play. But very rarely do I ever see them go, oh, here's a spec'd out level 3 fighter, and then here's a fighter at level 4, and a fighter at level 5, and a fighter at level 6. Here's some ideas of how you can spec them. Because
they did do some of that in 3.5.
Well, I mean, in the core book,
in this one, no.
They address the lack of people's ability to make their own actual three-dimensional character more than they address the lack of them being able to figure out the mechanics and break it down into something that's kind of broken or powerful. And I think that's mainly because most people have the problem with the former rather than the latter. A lot of people that play this game go, oh no, I know I want this feat, and then it'll work this way with this feat, and then I'll turn it into this.
They'll pre-plan a character from first level to 20th without knowing if
but
the
they
game
won't want
ever...
to plan an arc. Like, very few people come into a game and go, well, what I want is I want my guy to be successful or happy, proud, and then have him fall into disrepute, or I want him to struggle to come back up on this. They don't create arcs for the DM as much.
Oftentimes we've in just general talking, we've talked about the hero's journey. And that thing that comes up, what is it? The challenge, not wanting to go. What is it? What is that called?
Hero's journey.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the hero's journey, the hero should not want to.
Should be reluctant to go.
Yeah, reluctant.
Now here's the thing. Really, although in the story itself, like in whatever story your DM is presenting, they should try and create that. But as a character yourself. You were something, whatever it is, before you became an adventurer. Before you decided to leave what you were doing to do this new thing, you were something else. And I think it's important for a player, if they're playing in a story-driven game, in a story mindseted game, to figure out what they were before they decided to step onto the road of adventuring, to step on that road of becoming
have they
something.
stepped on it yet? Or is it something that you're working with your DM to draw you into?
Yeah, possibly, but the thing is, essentially, unless you're doing a level 0 campaign, if you've already picked up your first level of a character class, it's almost as if you've already jumped into the life of an adventure. You have maybe not gone deep into it.
You excel at the skill. And you can say that. You can say that level 1. No, I'm a level 1 soldier. Well, that means you must have been a fighter. No, I'm not. I've never fought before except for a handful of times.
Yeah.
Well, how can you ever become a level 1 fighter? Well, I excel. How many people do you know that fought in 16 wars and never made it to level 10? If I fight in 16 wars, I'm making it to level 20 based on the EXP I get because I'm a hero. So I learn quicker than other people. I do that, you know what I mean? So I think you can start off at level 1 and still be not on your adventurer's quest yet. Like
not necessarily
story.
on the quest, but you've stepped away from your previous life, unless of course but even as a soldier, you're stopping being a soldier, and now you're either a mercenary or you're just a freelance adventurer.
Well, I don't know. I feel that there's no problem starting off in a town where I am a soldier, and the DM then destroys the town, and part of that is me trying to defend it and run away.
That is a presentation, but just in general, if you're thinking of your character, sometimes you might want to decide why your character has chosen to do this thing. And before you decide that part, you need to figure out all the shit in front of it.
Well, I don't... Again, if I work with the DM, instead of actually having ever chosen yet, I can start having not chosen, not wanting to leave my home. But the DM knows my backstory because I worked with him, and he pulls out the thing that's going to make me want to or have to go.
Yeah, a lot of these important steps to figuring out all of that for the DM and for the player, whichever one is making that decision, it's going to be things like, where were you born?
Yeah.
Because where you were born can be very important. Like if I ask you, where were you born? Not your character, where were you born?
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, I was born overseas, but I'd rather not share all my personal information.
Okay, no, sorry, I get, sorry. But, okay, so overseas, that's fine.
Well, yeah.
But most people, if you ask them where they're born, they might say, oh, I was born in the States. Or they might go so far as to go, I was born in Texas.
Spot, and it changes culture and all of this, yeah. But, I mean, even deeper than that, like, what was your family dynamic?
No, those are all things that you get to after that. So let's take our world that we're working on in consideration, right? So let's say you're playing a tiefling, and you go, well, actually, I was born in Furlong. Well, Furlong.
Well, first off, how about we go back further than that to the original choice? How are you going to make your character? Are you going to make a thing and then figure out a class and everything else, a race and everything that fits the thing that you're trying to express, or are you going to make like a tiefling?
Yeah.
Did you pick tiefling because it gives you this bonus and that bonus, and you can these skills?
I just picked the race.
No, I'm not saying you right now. I'm saying when the the player picks tiefling, did he pick tiefling because tiefling is part of the cultural background he wants to explore in his character, or did he pick tiefling because it gives you a bonus and you get these skills?
Again, I think most people nowadays will make the mechanical choice.
So if you're already making a mechanical choice, that means you haven't even built the image yet.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
And you've already made the first choice on the path. So you're letting the mechanics define the character you're going to play rather than going, I want to play this thing. And then developing out how you can make it work.
I agree with you, but I fall in both camps. Sometimes I will do the mechanical choice.
I mean, saying it also depends on the game. Like in D&D, I'm almost always on the mechanical. Like, why halfling rogue? I get a size modifier, you get the +2 to dex, and so it's perfect. Halfling rogue. If you look at the numbers of people that play D&D, number 1 rogue, halfling. Followed by elf.
The least played rogue is like the half orc.
Or half orc.
Dwarf, yeah. Like the strength con based races.
And that's why I like when you get into White Wolf and some of the World of Darkness systems, like when you get these slots of points. And like you said, classless system. So when you get the slots of points, you can go into that and go, well, you know what? I want to make sure my character can drive and I want him to be able to fire guns. But you are forced to explain all of the points you put in.
Well, that depends on your DM.
Well, you made it whenever you ran it. You forced you got a 3 in firearms. You better have a background as to why.
Yeah, because that system very clearly said if you have 3 points in science, means you have a bachelor's degree or something. Like that.
Yeah, like right here, like law. 1 dot, which would give you 1 extra dice on that skill out of the 10 for success pool. If anybody's not familiar with White Wolf, is a student. 2 dots is college, 3 dots a master's, 4 dots a doctorate, and 5th is a scholar. You are one of the worldly scholars on this subject. So it lays down and defines, like, if you have this. So, for instance, if you have a character, it'll be really hard to explain exactly how you have 4 different things with 4 dots in it for knowledges. I mean, wait, you have 4 doctorates? Okay, but you're 16 years old.
That
just defined your entire character right there.
I was gonna say I have had someone who ended up having, I think it was like 3 or 4 dots in study-based type things, which was really neat because that person,
like a 40-year-old
person also ended up playing like a 60 or 70-year-old man.
See, that's
so they on top of that they made their physical traits their tertiary choice. Yeah. So they physically were not very.
So when you start here, instead of something as undefined, no offense to D&D, it's still a wonderful game, but it's something as undefined as, well, what's a 13 strength versus a 14th strength versus a 15th strength? This literally says 1 dot you can lift 40 pounds, 2 dots you can lift 100, 3 you can lift 250, 4 you can lift 400, and 5 you can lift 600.
Yeah.
So that's like your max press or whatever, or your max clean and pull, probably.
Yeah, it gives you a very clear identifier for
tailoring that. Like, so you can go, well, who am I? I'm average. I can lift between 100 and 250. I can run about this fast. And you can get these things down to where you're like, oh, well, let me fill out the sheet afterwards, knowing what kind of character it is that I want to play. It's a lot easier than with D&D, where sometimes in D&D even, it's really, like, you get a lot of points and skills for your abilities and stuff, and
You do.
Stop with the noise for the microphone on table. Like, so you get a lot of points, whereas in D&D there's only like 8 skills to pick from, 12 skills or something like that?
Yeah,
and you get like, a handful of proficiencies, and that's it.
I have to say, although it led to complications in 3.5, I liked having skill points to spread because you could define what your character was better. Like if you were if you had 5 fighters on the field, their feats and whatever might look very similar. But one guy might have been like, well, actually, I'm very good with horses, and I'm good at.
I'm the night fighter.
Yeah, I'm the night fighter. Even though I didn't really take
fighter.
mounted feats, I'm the cavalier. I know how to handle a horse. I have animal handling, and I might take like leather working or some shit like that to be able to maintain the saddle and the barding. Well, yeah. So, and then the other guy's just like, well, actually, I don't do any crafts. I'm athletic. I swim. I climb. Don't give me something and ask me to build something. I don't do that.
And also in White Wolf World, everybody has the same stats. All the NPCs, they all use the same stat system. D&D isn't like that. Like, for instance, say you have an army of NPCs.
Okay.
In your army of NPCs, how many people are leveled?
Okay.
How many of your knights are leveled? So what they're saying now is no one who's not leveled can ride a horse. Why? It's a feat.
But no,
to combat from a horse, right?
In 3.5 it was.
Well, you get what I'm saying, though. Like the concept. So that means automatically, if you're fighting from a horse, you have to have a feat, which means you have to have a class, which means you have to have class levels.
No, it doesn't mean any of that. Even back then, you could fight without. It's just you were better with the feat.
But that means that you had to put that negative in, and I doubt people really did that. You get what I'm saying? Like the concept of your heroes, only
But
really heroes level.
At the same time, what you're saying doesn't make sense because if I were building, like as a DM, if I'm building a encounter with knights, mounted knights, very clearly I'm giving them the ability to be knights.
Which means they're leveled now.
No, it just means that they have a ability that increases their CR because they're not built like player characters, they're built like monsters.
Yeah, see, I like the idea of everything being built the same way the player characters are built, in a way.
It makes sense, but at the same time, the idea in D&D is that the players are heroes.
Yeah.
So they are exceptional.
But they're not exceptional. This guy's a level 1 fighter, so he's leveled and can't ride the horse, but this guy over here, who has 0 levels, has... Because he's a human, and humans can't achieve level.
See, but that's the way you're choosing to look at it.
Well, no, in 3.5 they talk about 0 level characters, NPCs that are 0 levels, and the abilities they can get.
But a mounted knight in the military would probably have levels in a NPC class. And if you weren't building him in that context, if you were building him the way you build a monster, then that person isn't an average human. He is a knight monster, which means that he is a higher CR than a 0 level character.
Do they get away from creating the 0 level and the low level NPCs in 5th?
Oh yeah,
because that's the one thing that confused me in 3.5. Is you have this NPC. 0 level, levelable NPC thing, and then you have, like you just said, monster NPC humans, and it's like, wait, how can a human be both monster leveled and this way leveled?
See, the thing is, in 5th edition, they don't have the... Okay, in 5th edition, if you exclude the Unearthed Arcana, there are no NPC character classes. It's something they did add in the Unearthed Arcana. So for you to build a knight, something that's supposed to be higher than your average grunt soldier, your 1/8 or 1/2 CR creature, you literally have to go, okay, well, I want the knight to have this, this, and this, and then figure out what that builds out to a CR.
And they have the charts and everything on Earth and all that? Oh, okay. See, I haven't seen that. I've only seen the core books, and I didn't...
At the same time, though, you're absolutely right. You could just go and build a fighter, but the problem with building a actual character class is if you follow the CR system, a 5th level fighter should be, in theory, I believe, I might be wrong about this, but I'm just going to go with it, should be a CR5, which isn't really true, because it takes 4 of you guys at 5th level to equate to a CR5. But at the same time, a 5th level fighter alone, even alone, is threatening enough and has the damage potential to probably kill 1 or 2 5th level characters.
A mirror match.
A mirror match, I've actually done the CR back in 3.5 because I was considering it for one of our campaigns. I don't remember which one offhand. But the mirror match for your team at that time literally sat like 5 CRs higher than the party.
Well, it should for a multitude of reasons. I imagine one of them being, in one case, they're all controlled by one player, which means their coordinated efforts will be much greater.
That is true. But when dealing with CR, that is not one of the things taken into account. It should be.
Well, it definitely should be. Like, look, if you're playing for a bunch of 12-year-old kids and you're the DM or something, or like, you know what I mean? Like say you're playing for, like, your little brother wants to play. He's older now, but when he was younger, he got his friends together and him, and you DM for him. You should go, okay, where are they tactically? Okay, I need to do this with the CR, because if I don't, then, you know, or if you're playing with people that are just tactically unsound over and over and over again, you just go, you know what, I'm bumping off the CR. We're always going to be not, you know, I'm never going to go to Deadly. Why? Because Deadly's really deadly.
Yeah.
And, but back to the character creation bit. So you get the tiefling. You can create the tiefling. Question being like...
What's up, Slow Cool? And Electric...
I wish my Steam
Column
chat
board?
would update people, but it never does. Electrical longboard. Come on, man.
But,
So what I'm saying is, okay, so you said make the tiefling. Like,
yeah, so
going back
you
earlier to
pick
that.
the tiefling, and then, if you know the setting already, it's easier, but if not, you maybe ask the DM about some of the areas that the tieflings are from, because you pick tiefling, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, there's Lamond, and then there's Furlan, and there's, you know, whatever other cities. And then gives a little brief snippet for that. And then you get the idea of, okay, so I picked Furlan. So we go Furlan, city of steam or whatever we called it. It has this tiered society where you can't get into. So now I've picked the place, but I really haven't yet finished picking. Was my family in the lowest quarter? Were we all poor?
Well, that's all. Yeah, that's all setting. Yeah, you have to figure out where it fits in the setting. But also, like in the book, in the race's description, like making first sure that the like dwarves. Let's go with something a little more like more throughout all of the player classes or player races throughout the history of D&D.
Okay.
So
Dwarf.
we look at dwarf and we go, okay, well, are the dwarfs the way you see? How do you see dwarfs compared to how the book sees dwarfs?
If you as a
different.
if you as a DM are taking a dramatically different stance on a particular race,
You might not think that you're dramatically different. Because you might have started in second ed, and you might think of dwarves as this, and then somebody else has dwarves from World of Warcraft or this other game, and they don't understand that that dwarf isn't the same thing. So you might not be able to even recognize that you two have different dwarf images. So really it comes down to talking and going, this is kind of what...
There is a degree of talking, but again, I think literally all the examples of dwarf that you've given actually have a pretty strong tie through.
Yeah, they do.
I think areas where you'll get more variances in like elves across different setting types.
Yeah, because they're very different.
They can be wildly different.
Or halflings. They're different just from edition to
halflings.
edition. And one of them, they're a brownie, and one of them, they're a lithe gnome. You know.
Yeah, so there are areas where there can be difference, and
or was it gnome that would turn into brownie?
The gnome, I think, is the one that turned into a monster. But yeah, if you pick a dwarf, and you go, well, I want to play a dwarf. I think if you're going and talking to the DM about it, which you should at any point, the DM can be like, okay, so there's these 2 or 3 different nations of dwarves, and so these dwarves are kind of like this, and those dwarves are kind of like this, and this is kind of where they live. And it doesn't have to be this in-depth thing when you describe it at first, but if I go, okay, well, you pick the dwarves of Gubadur, and they live in the Granite Spire. And you're like, okay, what's going on in the Granite Spire? Well, the Granite Spire is the main dwarven hold for the dwarves after they abandoned the original mountain home because they dug up something bad. Okay, so now you know that your people, not your character, you're newer, you're younger, but your people at some point had to leave their home because something bad took it over. So that's something that's going to now be part of your character's brain. Be it no, I don't ever want to go there, or actually maybe your character.
But again, those aren't the same as what I'm talking about in character creation.
I think those are all things that matter to character creation.
Those are snippets based on one spot and how you're interacting in the world.
Then lay it out, man.
Okay, so how many siblings do you have? Do you have good relations with each of your siblings? Were you attentive in school? Did you go to school?
All of those things will be influenced by that other thing. So you're abandoning what you call the snippet. But if you came from a society where survival was really hard...
but your DM, you didn't say that. You said they had to leave their home. So all I'm working on is they had to leave their home.
But I haven't told you any of that, but this information can lead to this information. So saying that snippet is unimportant or too small,
the snippet, they left their home, is too small. I would have to ask the DM. More information I need than they left their home. Because right now you're leaving it up to me. They left their home and they were happy about it. They left their home and
No, I told you they left their home because something evil took it over.
Well, yeah, but they showed up in a new place and it was even better than their old home.
That's true.
So what I'm saying is I need a bigger image.
You need more information.
In order
but instead of just telling me that the snippet was no good,
it wasn't. I didn't say it was good. I said it was small. It was too small, and it was only one part of the world and how we interact. Do I want to go there? Do I not want to go there? Am I curious? Yeah, I mean, I can get a plot line from that. I can get like a character. You can get entire character concepts from just that snippet. Sure. I am an archaeologist who's trying to uncover the legends and the ancient motivations. Or I'm obsessed with wondering what happened exactly because no one truly knows. That kind of thing.
I think all of it will lead into the answers
but what I mean
to
is
questions
when you're
that you
playing,
were asking.
If you play in a role, like if you're getting into character in a role-playing session kind of way, what I mean is, like, are you a dick? Why are you a dick? Oh, you're a dick because you were the third kid, and because you were the third kid, like, your older siblings beat you up,
those
and
are all possibilities,
they actually
those
abandoned
are things you have to figure out too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is most people don't even get to that part.
A lot of players just go, my parents are dead.
Exactly. They don't even get to that part. They just go, well, I'm focusing more on where my stats go, what skill sets I have, and then we'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah.
And then what ends up happening is as they play, they're playing this character one day, and then the next day they're playing this character. And so they have dramatic shifts in who their character is or what they're... And the main through line that they ever keep is like, this is my one goal. Or, like I said, the 5th Ed really does try to build all the charts.
By helping with the bonds, the flaws.
Yeah, exactly. The bonds and the flaws and the... Yeah, and so what I mean is, instead of having to even use bonds and flaws and all of that, if you went in and did like a analysis on the personality of your character and then tried to stay in character as much as possible, I think that would be the best thing that you could probably...
Yeah.
Like for a role-playing. But again, it's all based on who's playing, what the party desires, and what the players desire. Some players don't desire to get into deep role-playing. So...
Your cat's been run over out front.
Well, there goes one of the Bullcritters. Which
the
cat?
One,
the adult?
The adult, it looks like.
I'm going to put a pause on that while you
right
continue
side
talking.
left of our car. Yeah.
Well then, that happened. So yeah, we're gonna take a short intermission.
And we're back.
Yeah.
And
Crisis averted.
There's no dead cat. It was a possum that had been run over some time ago. And so we have a lot of critters nearby running around, that is for sure. But it was a good scare.
But yeah, so going back to it, a lot of people ignore their backstory. And that backstory, it doesn't have to be a small novella. But understanding your family ties, where you came from, what social strata you came from.
The things that are going to end up causing you to have the motivations you have.
It will.
And you can start that in two ways. You can either go, these are the motivations I want, and then figure out why is it that I want these motivations, or build a character like again, like going to White Wolf. Let's put down D&D for a second, because how many like D&D is a very straight road with this, whereas because I like Hunter because we're building humans in this world that exists today, which is a lot easier for people to connect to.
Definitely
I think, in
easier.
the process of building.
Yeah.
So you can go, well, I have a wife, you have a kid, what are your relationship with those two people? You know, and it's a bit more visceral than...
See, usually for me, when I make a White Wolf character, I'll usually start with profession.
Yeah, see, I don't do that. I try to build person first, and try to develop what profession would be most applicable for that. Unless I'm going and building, I don't know. The one time we did werewolf hunters.
Yeah.
Like, things like that.
No, I mean, usually for me, I need that idea to build off of.
Like that character, Joseph Privy. I didn't start, I said, what do you want? What does he want? What is his number one thing? And it was like, I know, my motivation is going to be to try to shine light on the world.
Oh.
Okay, what would be good? A journalist. Okay, where is he now that he like, that would be a good thing. Where is he now? Oh, he's in college. He's in college for journalism. And now we have...
I get what you're saying. It's just, for me, when I build a character, I usually, much like with D&D, where you would start with a class,
yeah,
I start with a profession, because now I can go, what is it that I, Steve, want to play?
Yeah.
Because I am having to step into this character, so I pick a profession, a class. For the other games, I pick... But then, after I pick that... I do all the back building.
But here's the thing, though. All of it's linked to this, what do I want to play? I want to play a police officer. When I go, what do I want to play? You're not going to be a police officer forever in the game, Steve. No. You're a person.
No, I get
so
that.
Why are you, what are your the motivation? I want to shine light in the world. So when there's something really weird going on with Damien and all that, what's the motivation to go, oh, I got to figure this out. I got to reveal this.
No,
because that's the intrinsic base of the character.
That's how you get
the journalism
there. But
is just the
are
thing
you saying
that
with my method I can't get to the same place?
No, what I'm saying is, when you start with the motivation and go, what is it what kind of person am I? Not what is it that my person does. Then you're going, instead of going, what do you want to play? A police officer. What do you want to play? A person that's like this. Mm-hmm. And then you can build a profession on top of it. If you build... What do I want to play a profession?
I don't know.
Then everything that comes after the type of person has to fit that profession, rather than you get to play the type of person that you want to play.
Sure, but the thing is, for me, when I pick that thing, it's because that's the type of person I want to play. It's not that I'm doing...
But you never pick the type of person.
Yes, I do.
No, you pick the profession. You're building the type of person after...
Because that's what I want to play. That's what I want to play, though.
The profession.
I want to play the character that leads to that profession. So instead of having this very vague concept and going 3 hours on how do I get from this idea of I want to shine light on the world to how I'm going to do it, I go, I want to be a cop, or I want to be an investigator, or I want to be a baker. And then I go and back build everything to make sense as to why I became a baker.
But you're not going to be playing a baker.
Well, actually, in the modern game, yeah, I'll be playing a baker until you suddenly present to me that I'm not a baker.
Yeah, I know, and then the entire idea of what you just built isn't what you're going to be playing for the rest of the game. You're playing the back character you built on the profession you picked.
Sure, but I built all of these reasons that he became a baker, so how does that change anything from the way you're playing?
Well, what I'm saying is, because I am picking the motivation, and so I get to keep that. When we're no longer a baker, the thing I went in wanting to play, I still get to play. You don't
Okay.
get to play baker anymore. You went in going, I want to be a baker.
Well,
But you're playing
with
the
these
backfield
games.
that you-
I don't know.
you know.
It's how I
I'm
approach
not,
it.
yeah, I'm not saying there's no wrong way to go about doing this. What I'm trying to say is, I see that a lot of people will build the class. I want to play a fighter, and now let me think about what my character does, as opposed to I'm going to build a character. What class fits this character? I'm going to build a person who has this nature and this demeanor, because that's what White Wolf uses.
See, actually, that
And then I'm
in
gonna
White Wolf,
apply-
I usually start with nature demeanor.
That's what I usually
Actually,
start
that
too.
is where
Because
I start
that's
because
what
that is
you are.
intrinsic to your character.
Yeah, it can't change no matter what else you change. You lost both your legs. This is still your nature and demeanor unless it's changed, and that's
Well,
a huge
it
transition.
can change,
It
but
can, but that's
it
a
is-
huge transition.
it is
That's like
a-
going from chaotic evil to lawful good. It's a huge transition to try to make. So unless it's a horribly traumatic experience or something, it's kind of hard to explain the slip. It's easier to just
So,
go,
I don't know.
DM, I
For
made a
me-
mistake, I don't
for
want to
me,
play this.
I build my character the way I do. I still like the level of getting into the character you talk about. I do that even though I build differently than you.
Yeah, I just go out with the outset of going, knowing that I'm going to try to build this character this big, I want to make sure that the thing I end up building is what I want to play,
Yeah.
which has actually bit me in the butt a couple times, because what I want to play isn't playable. Like, I want to build a soft, fragile person that fights and finds a way to get through the night of horror, and then you realize, no, the person I built and the idea I have in my head is way too soft of a person. They won't survive this.
Yeah.
I can't play this.
That does become a sticking point, especially in a horror game.
Yeah, because if you create something that doesn't manage to survive the world, then in role playing, like, or say somebody who builds somebody who's passive. Well, you're supposed to be a hero. If you're a passive hero, what that ends up meaning is you're somebody who stumbles, like you're Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a hero at all. You're not a hero in every single situation. Usually your only heroics come from being passive and afraid. How do you survive the battle? I put the ring on and I got knocked in my head. That's how I survived the battle.
It can be interesting, and depending on what kind of story you're running. Alright, so actually, I have to ask, can you think back to your Legend of Five Rings characters?
Yeah.
What were their motivations?
Toku Nagiro, in Legend of the Five Rings, he was a peasant himself who wanted to aspire to be like the clan leader, who had become so great and honorable that he himself was blessed with being able to have a clan. He wanted to prove that the clan that is made is worthy of that, and that he himself was worthy of a clan, or worthy of, you know what I'm saying, like a Ronin, worthy of this greater celestial acceptance thing. And that's where it started. And then from there it goes to, well,
But for that, you
that
had to
clan
already-
was
you already had to
intrinsically
pick
part
something.
of that.
Yeah.
Of that. Because none of the other clans would have fit that. Boar. That's also why you can play Boar. Remember when we? So
Yeah,
the
you
idea
guys were
is
trying to
So
reassert
the
the
same
boar.
character could have been played Boar, which is one of the things I was in a toss up over. I don't know if you remember before.
I don't. I
before
actually
I made
think
all the rest of
you
the
fell
things.
on that character solely because of the...
Oh no, but I mean, Boar though was something I mentioned many times in
you
wanting
did.
to play.
I think you eventually
and
did
I think
play
that
a
was
boar.
Badger a clan too. That was
I don't
similar
remember.
to that.
I
Like
think
it was
so.
something that had fallen from grace. And so there was on my short list of classes that could fit, and then that one was just the easiest because the Boar clan is something you're not really supposed to play easily.
Yeah,
There aren't
I
any
don't. I
left.
don't remember. Yeah, it's something like that.
Like they did the hammer thing with a sacrifice, and all of them died, and now they're
That's
split
right.
up,
That's
and-
right.
So actually a dead clan. When you and Paul played Boar,
Yeah, we played
it was specifically-
Ronins.
the storyline that I was going to build
Was
that you were going to be the last Boar being raised by this guy who ended up bringing back the clan.
It would have been a
over the
cool
long
story.
arc.
You know, the most memorable part of that story for me, though,
No, ox,
water buffalo
the water
taming.
buffalo taming, yeah.
Yeah.
They're really, really big creatures. And the idea that two dudes were just like, oh, free water buffalo in the middle of it. Like that just tells you, like, you got to be careful as a DM. Never put domesticated animals or like animals that can be domesticated. Like, in the field you see some horses just roaming through as environmental picture. I want to chase down the horse and tame it.
I feel very, very blessed that the group that I run for on Fridays didn't decide to do that. So they were traveling across a section of plains. And one of the natural creatures that I have in the area is this very large dinosaur. It's a herbivore, and there's very few of them left. And they came across a single one that was not fully mature yet. And after I presented it, 2 of the players started talking about trying to capture and tame it, and I was like, oh no, what did I just do?
I just gave this opportunity without fully thinking about the ramifications of it.
And they started seriously talking about it, but then the rest of the party were like, "No, we're on a deadline. What are you? No, we need to go."
Well, what you do is you do it kind of like Ultima Online. No. You have to tame this for like a whole hot second.
Oh yeah, no.
And every time that you fail, it's a chance to attack you or something.
No, that's what something like that is what it was going to be. But
did they have rule sets for taming animals?
I know they had some in 3.5.
Is there a chance it attacked you if you messed up?
I believe
that's the way
so.
I think it should be run, really.
I mean, either way, it was a gargantuan creature.
I mean, a dinosaur might love that you just grab some food for it, but if you keep shoving it in his eye socket on accident, eventually it might attack you. Like, I don't want your food.
Yeah. It was a interesting.
Quit harassing me.
It was an interesting experiment. I'm glad that the players didn't do what I thought they were going to do. And then one of them was like, well, let's just kill it. That's a lot of meat and skin. And then the druid in the party was like, absolutely not.
It's an endangered species.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So we can't tame it or kill it? But, like, this is the thing. That decision right there, let's tie this back into character creation. That decision there. A decision there for half the party was probably pure make. If the druid was like, I actually, in my backstory of character that I created, this thing. Because most people, Steve, if you and me happen to be on a road trip.
Yep.
And we're driving up to Reno.
Okay. Interesting choice.
And we passed Vegas, we're in Nevada, and we're driving, and we look over to the left and we see 8 Mustangs. I can have 20 people in a bus, and not one of them will ever be like, we need to go tame those Mustangs. And that's not because they're not heroes. It's because they understand that none of them want to do that. But when you even though, if I tame it, I have a Mustang now, and I can ride it around, and I can sell it, and I have free money.
You're out of the frame mostly.
But no one does that, right? Why? Because it's not part of our character to want to do that.
One part of it is it's not part of our character. The other part would be, even if it's on the open road area, we still know that someone technically owns that. So in the back of our mind, I get you're saying wild, but
and somebody else is like, you get an argument in your party. We're like, no, are you sure they're wild? I don't know if they're wild. What if somebody owns them? Well, I mean, I don't know. There's this law that says.
Although I agree with you, intrinsically for us, another thing stopping us from trying to do it is the thought that they're owned.
Yeah,
and a lot of us are, most of us are not in tune with the idea of committing even a minor crime.
Yeah, and I don't mean to say, I'm guilty of the same thing, not to be a hypocrite, of being like, ooh, shiny thing, what, free? Even though my character wouldn't go for that.
But
again, that's mostly D&D.
Part of that is the game. Like, here's the thing. If I suddenly decide to present a hippogriff, everyone's going to think, shit, that's cool. We might be able to get a flying mount. I'm going to be honest. I've played one character in my entirety of D&D that I can tell you right now would have absolutely been like, no, you're idiots. I'm not doing it. And he was a dwarf who had lived his entire life underground and constantly was afraid of falling into the sky. So the idea of getting on something that jumps into the sky is ridiculous.
But and you made that based off the location and all that.
Yeah.
But was that a centerpiece to the character you made?
It wasn't a centerpiece, but it was something that came up often enough because these idiots kept taking me to high places where my character
I'm too close to the sky. The sky's even below me.
Like there was one time that we were climbing a mountain and everyone was bitching because I slowed us down to 10 feet of movement a turn, theoretically, so really slow pace, because my character wouldn't travel unless he was pitting to the fucking mountain.
Even if it was like a flat section.
No, it was a flat section. I wouldn't. Like,
I don't know. At any point in time, this all can go upside down, and next thing you know, we're all falling.
Well, it's not upside down. My character was intrinsically concerned about falling straight up. Like,
Okay.
the idea of an open expanse.
That's a cool quirk for a character.
It is a quirk. It was an irritating quirk until someone finally got me, like, they bought me adamantium boots.
And they were heavy enough that you were like,
They
oh,
were
I'll never
so
fall.
heavy that if I ever fell anywhere, I was screwed.
Oh my god, if I was your DM, I would have put some kind of levitation trap just to see you go, oh god, no, what's happening? I told you!
Yeah, that would have been great. We only made it like 8 levels in that game, though. But that was like the one character where if you would have presented like the flying mount, a wizard cast fly on me one time, and I was like, cool. I don't know why. I'm not. No.
Going to use it.
Yeah, no.
I feel very
And
uncomfortable
they
that my
got
feet
very-
won't go
they
down,
got-
back to the ground unless I tell it to.
They got very upset with me over it because they were like, well, we cast it on you because we needed you, the fighter, up there fighting the flying wyvern. And I was like, bring the wyvern to me. You can fly. No, I don't want to. But it also, playing that quirk irritated the shit out of a lot of people.
Well, I don't see why. Again, if it's your character, like I get why mechanically and battle wise, but I would never be annoyed because we already going in. So tactics are going to be adjusted. Why? Because this guy won't ever be in the air.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when we go to the thing? I don't know. Put a blindfold on him and have him put his hand on somebody else. There we go.
Yeah.
Problem
I mean,
solved.
there are ways around it. It's just
Trip, bang. Yeah, well, notice how you keep falling on the mountain even though we're right under the sky? That's what's going to keep happening, bro. So you can do what you want here, but we ain't doing this pitting BS. Toss. Did you seriously just toss my bag of pittance off the mountain when we're on a mountain? Valid point.
they fell down. Wow.
Huh, wait, they fall that way? Yeah, see how that works? No worries. Ah, feather fall. I told you could fall up. You flight back up.
But yeah, so you know that's
It's not judgment to but what I'm saying is like if you build your motives first and then you go, what can I apply to these motives?
I get the idea you're going for.
You get some
but-
interesting things. Like I want to be the world's greatest master thief and my class is human fighter. How
Yeah,
did
that's
that work?
actually it's an interesting concept.
You don't have those skill sets, but doesn't mean your character doesn't want to be a master thief.
Yeah.
Well, he's got good athletic.
What led to him wanting to be a master thief, I think, is more important.
Well, you can look at the fighter and go, okay, I want to be a master thief. Okay, what can I do with this? I know I can put points into athleticism
And you
because
can-
thieves need athleticism,
You can still build
and it makes a whole
dex-based
new
fighter.
type of thief. Or like, I want to play a halfling rogue that wants to be a knight.
Which was really one of your most
What did I start with?
interesting
Yeah, I know. What did I
characters.
start with though? I want to be a knight. Oh, okay, you're gonna be a fighter. Nope, I'm gonna be a rogue. Well,
Really?
why? Because my backstory is that of rogue.
I think that I mean I appreciate that that's what
I
you're
moved into
saying,
fighter and played
but I'm going to
into
be
it.
entirely honest with you. If you're asking me, that entire character started with, I want to play a halfling rogue because it's my niche. Then everyone gave me lots of shit. So I went, I'm going to break
Yeah.
the mold.
Actually, I think you're right on that. And then play
I'm gonna
a
break
halfling
the
rogue that wants
mold.
to be a knight. No, but that's because D&D, really.
But you know
It
what?
does kind
You
of build
did
out.
break the mold in a very interesting way. That
Well, like
that
the
character.
Bruja that was the Southern Gentleman.
Well, that is one style of Bruja.
I know, but no one ever plays that
Oh
style of
no,
Bruja.
that was a very interesting play. See, this is the thing. I very rarely get to make characters, so when I do, I really build exactly what I want. Which sometimes leads to directly just building mechanically, which is kind of shite.
But something you've been aching to try out or see if you can get it to work.
Yeah, so that's a bit of an area I get stuck in. But I'm think Lurks is a bot, but not. So Lurks, what's up?
So,
Tell me if you're a bot or not, so I feel like a...
Well, he's a lurker. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
not going to type anything in.
come on. He
You're
might.
going to give him anxiety, making him asking him to.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sorry. Even
No,
worse.
no. What I'm saying though is go back to the character building. We can actually build out like the actual thing if you didn't know how to build. I'm talking about for experience. Like when I was talking about what we talked about today. What should we talk about today? I meant something that veteran players, like not the walkthrough of this is how you make a character, but something that
Yeah,
veteran
I get
players
that.
could look at and go, oh, you know what? I have been building barbarian fighters or human barbarians because that's what I really like, and so I just play human barbarians. I never thought about going and building this thing and finding a way to get.
I like your
class
concept. I
later.
just think that for the question asked, we both approached it in a different way.
Yeah.
You start with the concept, which is actually a really good idea. It's just not where I start. But really, what I wanted to talk about is it doesn't matter how you picked. For me, in the thought process, it's not a matter of how you picked your race or how you picked the fact that you're going to be a fighter. Those things you should eventually build. But the parts that even veteran players ignore is the story element. Where were you born? How were you raised? What social strata are you from? Are your parents alive or dead? What are your parents doing? Do you have siblings? How many? How is your relationship with your sibling? How is your relationship with your parents? Why did you start adventuring?
Was
What
it
did you
was it a
do-
choice or do you not want to adventure?
Yeah, I mean, those are
I mean,
all
when was the
things.
last time you really saw a lot of a lot of players go, actually, I don't want to adventure. I have to do this because of
Because of
this
X.
thing.
I mean, no, most people don't.
I want to go home to my wife and my kids, and that's what I want to do. I'm waiting to get back to retirement as fast as possible. Been on the road for a year. Like, 'cause there's no problem making a character you retire after 4 levels because
No,
this
there
guy's
isn't.
arc is over.
That's another thing that I've found. There have been different times throughout our role playing where I've created a list of questions, and that list has changed in number ranging from probably about 12 questions to I think the biggest one was 27 questions. And I don't remember what they all are, but some of them are like, who are your parents? Are they alive? What is your character's ambition?
Yeah, and that's an important one.
What would cause your character to stop adventuring?
I lose both my feet. It gets real hard to walk.
Those are good questions to have answered because you never know when a scenario can come up. I know that I pissed an entire party off once out in Gatesville because that character made it through 9 levels as the party's tank. But in those 9 levels of adventuring, he saw 7 people. Like, not the enemies. Killed many enemies. But 7 people that he intrinsically knew and traveled with for periods of time
Close friends.
die. And 2 of those people, when they tried to resurrect them, were like, no, we did our bit. We're good. We're in our heaven now. We're in wherever we're supposed to be in the afterlife. Don't want to come back. Go screw. And after 9 levels of adventuring,
This dude was just like, I retire.
we finished like our first major arc. And they were like, we're gonna go do downtime. And I looked at the DM. And after we split our monies, I was
Here's
like,
my character sheet.
I was
I'm
like,
retiring.
so my character wants to make sure that the next generation of idiots that go out to do this are more prepared. What is it going to cost for me to start building a fighters guild, a fighter training hall in my hometown? And he looked in one of the books and kind of calculated it out. And after he came back with a price, it was about $5,000 over what I had. So I went and I looked at my gear. And I ended up selling off like 2 pieces of magical equipment to make up that extra $5,000. And I was like, all right, guys, like if you need me, if things are super bad, like if the world is ending, come look me up. If you need a place to stay and sleep, come look me up.
Always
But otherwise, I can't do this anymore.
I'm done.
I'm done. I've seen too much.
I've done too many tours, man. I'm out.
I've been nearly killed too many times. This last bit with fire giants, I've been burned, I've been crushed, I've been thrown. I'm good. I've done it. I've seen it. I
And
don't
if somebody
want
gets
to
upset,
anymore.
like that's the worst thing. So then if another player looks and goes, "Are you serious, man? We really need you in the party," right? As a player, they're ing up, in my opinion. Not
Yeah.
like again, you shouldn't be judging too much, but what you should be doing is in character, feeling the loss of the companion.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that was one of the best things about that Hunter game we played. You know, me, Damien, and Joey. And me and Damien had this situation where he accidentally, like, he shot me under the influence of something else and thought I was dead,
Yeah.
right? Or actually, no, I'm sorry, he staked me. I shot him and he soaked it to the face somehow, magically. Demon sword.
Demon sword.
Anyway, so he thought he killed me, and and that's good role playing. As soon as he drove the stake into my chest, like out of like, "Raw, how dare you!" He was like,
He looked at me and said, "Can I make a willpower roll to have my character actually realize what has just happened?"
and I'm just gonna.
And I was like, "You know what? You're so under the influence of the weapon that you've been wielding for the last 20 sessions. You can make the roll, but it's going to be a butt."
Yeah.
And he rolled, and he ended up getting so many tens. I was like, "What?"
I think he blew conviction.
He blew some conviction too, but like even the dice on the table
Yeah.
were like, "Okay, yeah, no, you."
Yeah, you decide to end it because you realize how far you've fallen. And then what happens? Joey, as a player, doesn't go, "Are you serious, guys? You guys couldn't keep it together enough to..." No, he plays a character who's now in deep mourning because he's just lost 2 different people he's been rolling with.
Yeah.
And then he plays that mourning out into the next, like, the characters we bring in. And
Which
it's still present.
It was interesting to see that broken character several
Sessions,
years later.
Yeah. Years later, we brought him back in the game and had Joey run him again. And yeah, at that point in time, he pretty much had dementia. He was setting out dinner plates for the people he used to roll with that are long dead and talking to them at dinner as though they were still alive because he couldn't psychologically manage what had occurred. That, in my opinion, is a very 3-dimensional character because if you look at what he was at the beginning, he was very strong-willed, very egotistically wealthy, educated, and it slipped into just the despondency and and that's the game of White Wolf. That is horror.
You guys
if you've
all
never seen
played
it.
into the spiraling horror of the setting, though, and I
Yeah.
think I did a good job at presenting it as well. But those characters really went through the
Ringer.
the proverbial ringer 3 or 4 times.
And I get this D&D. It's epic adventure, epic heroism. But even then, how many people?
It doesn't always have to be.
3-dimensional. Oh, it doesn't have to be. But I'm saying the stock.
No,
of it.
most people don't create 3-dimensional characters. What they build is
A hero at the start,
standard.
hero at the finish,
Yeah.
hero the whole time.
Hey, John.
Are we muted still?
No.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, so I think that's something definitely to look at, to generate a more 3-dimensional character and to strive to actually play that character.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it starts in creation. And like I said, there's multiple ways to do it. You can go class and then build at the back and then find a way to dynamically change it, or you can go, this is my aspiration at the beginning, and then find a way that aspiration moves as the adventure continues.
See, I've taken more time to think about it, and I kind of hit 2 different strides in character creation. Usually I pick the class. But I don't usually always make the class or the race fit to the class. Because I'll go into a thing with a character, a very vague character concept in mind. Like, I created the Kobold Paladin. Kobolds are terrible for paladins, but that's what I ended up throwing down. So.
Okay, well, that's it for today, guys. You've been a lovely crowd. You have a lovely night.
Yep.